Good morning, Carindale families. Good morning to those who are visiting. It's so great to have you worshipping with us today. I want to ask you, who's got a bit of a philosophy in life that if you're putting furniture together, for instance, if you're putting furniture from IKEA together, who's ever done that a little bit? Okay, I think we can all empathise with that. Love IKEA. But who's got the philosophy, if it doesn't quite fit, just force it? Who's ever been there before, right? If it doesn't quite fit, just force it. Go a little bit harder, all right? Because, you know, there are some things that you're meant to apply a bit of pressure to, all right? Other things, if you apply that philosophy, it might actually just break it. One of my wife's favourite sitcoms growing up was a show called Friends. Have you ever seen Friends before, all right? She loved it so much I bought her the Lego set, all right? Now, Lego is something that you shouldn't force, okay? All right? We'll get there in a second. But on Friends, I don't know if you can recall the time when Ross and some of the friends were taking a couch up the stairs. Who recalls that one, all right? They're taking a couch up the stairs and he's going, pivot, pivot! And they're trying to force it up the stairs. Needless to say, the couch was ruined in the process of forcing it. Who's been there, I wonder, in furniture removers? Sam's got a bit of a Far Side cartoon. I love Far Side. I don't know if you got it there, Sam. You can force it. You can force this one. It's all right. Not going to happen? All right. Excellent. We might come back to that one. All right. Excellent. Very smooth, right? Live television, Sam. It's all right, no, it's okay. I want to ask you this morning, friends, who would benefit from embracing perhaps the notion in their life of go easy? I wonder who would benefit from the notion of go easy in their life. Easy does it. Oh, here we go. I don't know if you can see that. I've got a bad feeling about this Harriet. It says, bull in a china shop, all right? Maybe that describes some of us, the bull in a china shop. Friends, what's the place of gentleness in your life? If you pay any attention to advertising this day, this idea of gentleness, it's widespread. They've really captured it in advertising. Like for me, I love things that are gentle on the hands. Who loves that? Gentle on the hands when you're washing up, when you're applying, you know, in the shower, all stuff. I'm the only one. Excellent. What about gentle on the clothes? Here's the paradox. You've got tough on stains and gentle on the clothes. And we buy into that. Because how does that work? How can you go hard on a stain but be gentle on the clothes? I'm not sure how they do that, but laundry powder is magical, all right? Science, the magic of science. Whether it's our hair, whether it's our face, whether it's our skin, gentleness has so many selling points. Go easy, go steady, go gently relates to so many things in life. For the nurses in the room, if you are tending to a wound, it's important to go gentle, isn't it? All right? I've had ingrown toenails before. I've had a number of things. Who's had ingrown toenails? Love them. And over the years, I've actually figured out that you can just rip that off, you know. Not the toenail, sorry, the bandage. Not the toenail, the bandage. After you've had an operation, you can rip it off and just, you know, go hard and the shock of it. I've tried that. Guess what? Doesn't work. It just hurts for a long time. And then you soak the toe and you gradually take the bandage off. Who's ever been there? Okay, that kind of works better. Go gently with ingrown toenails, all right? Handing babies. We've talked about babies today. It's really important to go gently with babies. Fair call? For those parents, grandparents, whatever, go gently with babies. Once, I wasn't being harsh, I didn't think, but I did pick Hetty up once by her arms once. And one arm, and it popped out or something. Something happened. Anyway, sorry. It's okay, it was all good, it was innocent. It popped out, something happened, and she was like in pain like an hour and a half later, and we went to the doctors, and he said, I think the nurse or whatever, actually said, it'll be this, and if it's not, then we have to get it x-rayed. So I'm praying, Jesus, let it be that. And lo and behold, he literally just went, douche, douche, with her elbow, and it was gone within half a minute. And I'm like, I said to him, you are Jesus. Jesus does that, you're Jesus. And he goes, yeah, actually he didn't get it. It just went over his head, I think. He just looked at me weirdly. He didn't get it, that's okay. But when you're handling children, be gently. Planting plants, be gentle when you're doing plants. Chickens, I've told Hetty she's got to be gentle with the chickens, all right? Thank God they're still laying. Little insects, Hetty has loved little insects into the other world many a time, trying to be gentle. When I've got my Lego out, I always say to Hetty, be gentle with my Lego, all right? I'm a bit anal with my Lego. I don't want her touching my Seinfeld Lego. It's like, I'm watching her. Where's the characters gone? Don't move that bit. Be gentle, Hetty. I know, it's a bit pathetic, really. That's okay. anything fragile, anything that's valuable to us, pay attention. You do this naturally. You be gentle with it. If it's valuable, if it's meaningful, it's fragile to you, you'll naturally do this. Disarming a bomb, be gentle with that one, all right? Just my advice. Be gentle. Using the clutch, whoever remembers when they were learning in the manual, who went hard on your clutch? All right, there's quite a number of people in the congregation when they had their Subaru WXs, whatever. Never buy a Subaru WX from somebody who's 30. Never do that, right? You just know the clutch is gone on it, probably. And mining machinery, large machinery. Who's better at driving large machinery, you reckon? I didn't say it, all right? I've heard it, and apparently it's because they go gently, or more gentle than men tend to with the vehicles. Being gentle, friends, with things means that they work better and they last longer. When you're gentle with things, it means they work better and they last longer. And when we read in Matthew 5 this sermon from Jesus, one of the greatest sermons, the most poignant key ideas of life that he ever shared with us, he talks about blessed are the meek, which basically means blessed are the gentle. It's the same kind of word, derivative. Blessed are the gentle, the whole earth will belong to them. The whole earth will belong to them. That's an incredulous phrase. It actually echoes Psalm 37, which talks about blessed are the meek, they will inherit the land, back then in the Old Testament. This is a much broader, much deeper concept. They will inherit the earth. Not the all-powerful, not the all-conquering, not the all-dominating. The whole earth will belong to the gentle. What planet is that true? Really, when you think about it, what planet is that true? Well, believe it or not, Jesus said it's true of earth. It's true of this planet. And we're meant to believe it. But what does it mean? It kind of means when we master being gentle, we go a long way to mastering how to live. When you master being gentle, you go a long way to mastering how to live. You'll find there's better outcomes in your marriage, in your ministry, in your work, in your parenting, with your friends, for those kids, with your students, with the teachers. The gentle will inherit the earth. And this is just such an abstract contrast to what we may have come to understand about ourselves and the world around us today, where most of it accentuates competition, egocentricity, being the strongest, the smartest, the fastest. I mean, even the concept of superheroes has this kind of idea that, again, if you have enough strength to overcome, you will overcome, but then it's balanced because Superman himself has to preserve life. So even in fighting for justice, he has to apply that in gentle ways. He can't take life indiscriminately. He can't act out of his own selfish endeavours. The awesome part about Jesus is that he taught this truth, but when you look at his life, when you look at Jesus and his life, he embodied it. He embodied this truth in every way. And Matthew himself in his gospel talks about Jesus, God-man, twice like this. He called him gentle. Jesus, in whom all things of this universe were created, were reconciled, were redeemed, in whom the worst of humanity was confronted and transformed into the beauty of holiness, in whom death and the power of sin, past, present, and forever, was defeated. Jesus is called gentle. Come to me, it says in Matthew 11. I am gentle and humble in heart. Matthew 21, your king comes to you gentle and riding on a donkey, which we'll be exploring leading into Christmas season. Gentleness is who Jesus is, friends. It's part of God's DNA. It's the essence of the Spirit, what life in the Spirit looks like. And Isaiah 40 says this. It gives us a picture of this sovereign, all-powerful God, and yet a God who is caring and gentle. It says, see, the sovereign Lord God comes with power, and he rules with a mighty arm. See, his reward is with him, and his recompense accompanies him. He tends to his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arm. He carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those that have young. In the Greek, friends, this idea of meekness is gentleness, the same word. And the imagery of that word in historic times was about a wild horse being tamed. Now, I've never lived on the country like that to tame a wild horse. Has anyone tamed a wild horse before? I think I'd be flat out taming a chihuahua, to be honest, but that's okay. But this idea of a stallion, a wild horse being tamed. The horse is a tamed horse, you know, is as strong as a wild horse. When you think about it, the tamed horse is as strong as a wild horse. A gentle horse is a horse that has strength under control. A horse that has strength under control. And when we look at this word gentleness in the fruit, when we look at it in Scripture, this idea of meekness and gentleness, it's really about strength under control. last night at Trunkwood Trig. I don't know if Rochelle's here today, but Rochelle had Beauty and the Beast themed car. It was really cool. It was amazing how she laid out this Beauty and the Beast themed car. And when you think about Beauty and the Beast, you have this woman, this kind of lady who, in many ways, through her gentleness, she tames the beast, doesn't she? Through her gentleness, she tames the beast. Gentleness, friends, is one of the most powerful things in the universe as a characteristic of who God is and who we're called to be. It's about approaching others in a humble and caring spirit, not using force to get one's way, whether it's furniture or your relationships. Gentleness is meekness, not weakness. All right? Gentleness is meekness, not weakness, and the gentle are some of the strongest on the planet. A gentle person does not overreact. I don't know if you've ever done that in your life, or today, or yesterday. A gentle person is not driven by their emotions, their subjective preferences and impulses. A gentle person is not constantly moody. A gentle person is teachable, repentant, trusting. And when you live in the gentleness of God, friends, you'll find that gentleness neutralizes conflict. It neutralizes conflict. Proverbs says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. I think Rick Warren said this, when others go loud in your life, you go soft. That's just a conflict resolution technique. When others go loud, you go soft, strength under control. Don't be a comeback king. I don't know if you've been there in arguments or conflicts or discussion before, that one-upmanship, trying to be a comeback king. I was in the Army Reserve for a number of years, and when you're in the reserves, even though I was with my friends, some of them were higher ranked than I was, so I think they took license when you're kind of friends, but when you're in the Army Reserves, you kind of get used to being yelled at. Who's ever been in the forces, at least back when I was there? You kind of get used to being yelled at. It's just part of what they do. You don't take it to heart too much. Well, sometimes you do. I remember when I was at McDonald's as a young guy, being yelled at by the boss. Who's ever been yelled at by the boss before? Okay. Thanks, Luke. We're going to get to that. That's fine. I don't think so. That's okay. Ever been yelled at in traffic? Maybe some of us relate to that. Who's ever been yelled at in traffic? All right. My wife is a very safe driver, but she often gets yelled at in traffic. And it's not me. Okay, it's not me. If you've ever been in that scenario where people just give it to you, they just give it to you. I think when you're in that moment, it's key to realise that often what's going on for them is something greater than what's going on in the moment, okay? So it probably isn't even about you, but it's hard to rationalise that when you're in the moment and somebody's giving it to you. Ecclesiastes 10 says, if your boss is angry with you, don't quit, Luke, all right? If your boss is angry with you, don't quit. The alternative is, if your employee is angry with you, bosses, don't sack them, okay? That's a nice counterbalance, all right? If your employee is angry with you, don't sack them. A quiet, gentle spirit can overcome even great mistakes. A quiet, gentle spirit can overcome even great mistakes. Gentleness is strength under control. Don't react by fighting, retaliating in a sense. Don't react by flighting or either leaving in anger, because we can do that. Don't fight fire with fire, fight fire with water. Respond with a gentle spirit. Being gentle in conflict means it actually means that things can be mended and restored, even at a future time. It's a way of navigating that with each other and through together. Being gentle in conflict means that things can be mended and restored. It means there's an opportunity even to transform the situation, not simply be a victim of it. I want to ask you, who's ever received criticism, or even recently? You ever had criticism come your way? Many of us probably relate to that. How did you feel when you received it? How did you feel when you received criticism? You know, in life, the only way to avoid criticism is do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing, okay? That's the only way to avoid criticism. If you're facing criticism today, it may very well be that it's because you're trying to make a difference in the world, perhaps. But how do you handle critics in your life? How do you handle people who might gossip about you, might seek to disparage you or bring you down in some small way? Gentleness, again, is the key. Gentleness actually disempowers and disarms critics. When you respond in gentleness, it actually disappoints people who perhaps are trying to goad you anyway. This posture of rising above the situation, not to criticise or disparage others, all right? It's really important to not, again, fight fire with fire. When you're facing criticism, particularly as a leader or as an influencer in faith, it's really important to actually give out gentleness in love, even towards your harshest critics or your vilest, greatest enemies. That's tough. That's tough. 1 Corinthians 4 says, when you are cursed, Paul says this, when we were cursed, we blessed. When we were persecuted, we endured. When we were slandered, we answer kindly. They're Paul's words. Titus says, your conversation should be so sensible that anyone who wants to argue will be ashamed, because there won't be anything to criticize what you say. When you live out in a gentle way, friends, you live with a sense of integrity and you rise above the criticism. 2 Timothy 2, the Lord's servant must not quarrel. Instead, he must be kind and gentle with everyone. They must be able to teach effectively and be patient with difficult people. That's the call on leaders within the church especially. Gentleness, again, is strength under control. We need tough skins and tender hearts as Christians. What I tend to find a lot of times is we have tough hearts and sensitive, tender skin. In the faith, friends, gentleness, strength under control, is having tough skins and tender hearts. Gentleness is influential. Whenever you go to shopping centres these days, you feel almost inundated. I don't know if you feel like this with people who are trying to sell stuff in shopping centres. You've been there before? You feel inundated with those people who will just kind of walk your way and try and sign you up to a cause, which is noble in itself, or sell you a product. And for me, sometimes I don't quite get this right. I should actually, in gentleness, just respond. But the way I do it is I kind of go the long way around to the shop I wanted to get to. You ever been there before? I end up going out of the shops, driving to another car park to walk around to get to the shop just before that person on the other side was there. It's ridiculous, right? So I should just walk around and own the fact that I'm going to move on from you. I'm sorry about that. I'm not helping you today. But this idea of people trying to sell you stuff, there is in advertising still some elements of trying to force it. Fair call? They're trying to force their way into your personal space, force a conversation that's clearly not going to happen. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work in advertising anymore. It doesn't work in parenting. All right, we're going to get there. It doesn't work in teaching, and it doesn't work in ministry. It doesn't work in ministry. I've been looking at buying a new set of headphones for a little while, and the process for me in buying headphones is I could look at all the advertising and sometimes YouTube and get feedback, but generally what I do, and I've done this with a few already, is I actually ask people that I trust. I just ask people I trust what they think and what they believe are great headphones. It's not about the loudest, most elaborate ads. It's not about people forcing their agenda. It's just about me asking. When you buy things today, it's usually because somebody else recommends it. When you buy things today, it's usually because somebody else recommends it. When you engage with the church, when you open your lives to Jesus, you don't do this because a TV evangelist necessarily hollers to you, turn or burn, right? Because they used to, turn or burn. But because someone we trust invites us to church, invites us into this relationship with Jesus. Someone we know reflects an authentic, ever-appealing love of God that we want to know and experience for ourselves. And as a disciple of Jesus, to be credible and convincing, we need to be gentle. To be credible and convincing in our day and age, we need to be credible. I'm never pervasive when I'm abrasive, all right? I'm never pervasive when I'm abrasive. A gentle word can get through hard-headedness of people. And for parents, I'm learning this every day. Kids don't respond well on any level when we're harsh, when you shout and scream, when you get to capture their attention through forceful means. They simply get defensive, experience fear, and learn over time to act as you are. That's all that they learn. Gentleness works. Just last week, I think the week before, I attended a men's camp in the Salvation Army. And as it's pretty typical of men's camp for them to be talking about what it means to be a godly man in the world around us. And this idea of strength was a key part of the weekend. When you look at Paul, the Apostle Paul, a man who once lauded his power and used violence and aggression to control and suppress those who didn't agree with him or those that he thought opposed Judaism at the time, this was where he once was in his life and how he exercised his authority and power. And then when he encountered Jesus in an incredible way and the grace and the forgiveness of God flooded into his life, he was transformed, Paul, into a gentle man of God. If you ever read his stuff, he was just a gentle man of God. And he gives these instructions to Timothy, his protege, in the letter to Timothy in 1 Timothy 6. He says, as a man of God, if you want to know what it is to be a man of God today, as a man of God, pursue what God approves of, which is godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. His top 5. Godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. One of Paul's top 5 characteristics to live out as men in the world today was gentleness. Now, if you ask most men, outside of the church perhaps, if you ask most men today, top 5 characteristics of being a man, I don't know that you're going to hear gentleness, all right? I don't know you're going to hear that. Our world desperately needs gentle men. Our world desperately needs gentle men. The surest way to show love to your wife and help her to feel safe, to your daughters, to your sisters, to your mothers, indeed to each other, is to be gentle. So today, friends, how do you speak towards each other? Who's actually lived out or spoken criticism or harshness or judgment this week? A gentle tongue in Proverbs 15 is a tree of life. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but maliciousness breaks the spirit. To be gentle in what we say and what we do is to give life. It's a pretty profound verse. Speaking gently gives opportunity for healing, hope, and new life. In Deuteronomy 32 it says, "May our words drop as rain, our speech distill like dew, like gentle rain upon the tender grass, like showers upon the herb. It brings forth life." Being gentle, friends, brings forth new life. And as you are gentle, you know, particularly with each other in responding to sin, it enables people to heal. We need to be gentle with each other when we're dealing with sin. Galatians 6 says, "When a fellow believer falters or is hurt or betrayed, respond gently. Restore them in a spirit of gentleness." It's a great verse, but when I think about the church in a historical sense, when I think about even our movement's history over the last 150 years and the different cultures and permutations of that, perhaps even at times in Carindale, Salvation Army over the years, or in our families here today, where we haven't always restored people in a spirit of gentleness. People that are wounded by their own guilt and shame, desperately needing to be restored through gentleness, but actually encountering judgment and insensitivity. May we be people marked by gentleness in all that we say and do, because Jesus was always calling people and restoring people in a spirit of gentleness. And if you wanted some homework from today, go home and explore the stories of Jesus in the way that he called and restored in a spirit of gentleness. The list is endless. Not only did he do that, but today he's continuing to do that. Today he's continuing to call each of us and restore us in a spirit of gentleness. I'm going to invite the musos to come up. Friends, today, may you know the gentleness of Jesus. May you know that true power of God, which is strength under control. And may you learn to live in the gentleness of Jesus to see others restored and a world transformed. We're going to sing a song called Softly and Tenderly, Jesus is Calling. In these moments, friends, I don't know where you are in your journey of gentleness, in your journey of strength under control, but I want to encourage you, if you don't know Jesus, if you've been hurt by the criticisms of others over the years, if you've experienced anything other than gentleness in leadership or relationships, I want to encourage you to open your life to Jesus today. And if you know Christ, if you've lived in the church for a while, but you still lack a sense of gentle spirit, or you're crying out for that, Jesus says to each of us, softly and tenderly, I'm calling you. I'm calling you. Softly and tenderly, I'm calling you. Come home. Come home. We're going to pray. And in these moments, if you want to come and pray, I encourage you to do that. In these moments, if you want to come and intercede for others, or a situation you're confronted with that you need to navigate in a gentle way, because it's easy to respond in force. It is. It's easy to respond with force. If you need gentleness today to help you navigate situations in life, I encourage you to pray with me. Jesus, right now we thank you that you're a God who is gentle in every way. A God who is immeasurably powerful. A God who exhibits and reveals himself as strength under control. God, help us today to understand what it means to be gentle. Help us today to understand that as we live out the gentleness of you, we will inherit the earth. We will learn to master the art of living for you. Lord, I thank you today that even now you call us. Even now you call us. Restore to us, Jesus, the joy of our salvation. Gently restore us, we pray in these moments, in your precious name. Friends, let's worship, let's sing, let's pray softly and tenderly. Jesus is calling.